Adrian Newey has gotten some bad news from Red Bull about joining Aston Martin, and it looks like Red Bull is playing a super smart game while everyone else is just playing simple games. The British car design genius talked about what Red Bull did to him and how it will hurt his new job at Aston Martin. So has Red Bull done a really good job trying to stop the damage from Newey leaving? And more importantly, how will this hurt Aston Martin in the long run? Aston Martin has gotten probably the most valuable person in Formula 1 who isn't a driver, Adrian Newey, after working together with Red Bull for 20 years. Not many people thought that at 65 years old, Newey would be ready to start a journey that would be much bigger than what he wanted in the beginning. But Red Bull knows how powerful he is and what amazing things he can do, which means they're going to do everything they can so that Newey's brilliant ideas, some of them being super important for why they've been winning so much in the past few years, won't help Aston Martin for a really long time. When talking about this to a racing magazine, Newey said that he can still come up with new ideas during his time off, but Red Bull has blocked most of the computer tools that let him to work and test if these new ideas would actually work. Newey also said the team can't stop him from thinking of new ideas, but they have blocked his tools. So obviously Aston Martin wants to do the best job they can in 2025. But his main focus will be the 2026 rules and this big change, because he starts on March 2nd. The new rules come out on January 1st or 2nd, so he will already be about 2 months behind everyone else. But really it's worse than that, because not only will he be behind on looking at those new rules compared to when they come out, but he'll also have trouble with the computer design systems too. You need to know them really well to understand all the requirements, and they're so detailed, if you think about it. Red Bull has played a really smart game here because they know how good Newey is, and they know that he might have been the main reason behind all their winning in the past few years, especially in 2023. Of course, you can't say all the success comes from just one person, but that one person is leading hundreds of engineers in creating and using clever solutions. So when Newey said that some of the problems he pointed out about their 2024 car were ignored mainly because the car was winning the first 5 races, it was basically the first sign that there was trouble and his advice wasn't being listened to like it should have been. On top of that, when they investigated what was wrong inside the team, it ended with Horner getting more power. And even though Newey's announcement came before that, it still shows that there's a lot that needs to be fixed inside Red Bull. Aston Martin will be a very strong team starting in 2026, when the new rules begin, because there's one big thing that we don't seem to pay enough attention to. Newey working with Honda. Honda has been part of Red Bull's success too, and whether we like it or not, their back and forth games with Red Bull about whether they'll stay in the sport have forced Red Bull to think about making their own engines, now that they're one of the most successful teams ever. And with Newey working closely with Honda in this comeback, it will let him have much more freedom at Aston Martin to choose the engineers and design the cars wisely. This is why he might have chosen the ownership deal that Red Bull couldn't match. Horner said that they had a chance to keep Newey, but they couldn't match what Aston Martin offered to the 65-year-old because they believed that the team depends on other important people too, not just Newey. Explaining more about this, Horner said the agreement between them and Newey was that at the end of 2025 he was going to step back from Formula 1 and just be a mentor. Otherwise he was going to lose other technical guys to rival teams. The deal Newey got from Aston Martin, with ownership and everything, is something that simply wasn't possible here. He can understand Adrian wants another chance in Formula 1, and as a shareholder and partner in a team, he certainly doesn't blame him for that. But this move by Red Bull that we're talking about could really hurt Newey's move to Aston Martin, because of other things like the fact that he would be responsible for a big part of developing the car, with him already being 2 months behind. People like Cardile and Cowell might have something to say about the whole situation. Of course, there isn't much Newey can do because this isn't up to him. It's a plan that Red Bull is using. Similar to what they do when a driver is leaving. He's been left out of team meetings about developing the car, but it's still a setback for Newey, joining the team that he's supposed to have a lot of problems with in terms of development. And it can be traced back to Horner's comments about Aston Martin promoting Adrian Newey to the job he signed for while still being under contract with Red Bull. This is something that was easily accepted by Red Bull, as they thought of the move as unprofessional at the very least. Explaining more about this, Horner said it was obviously a big announcement by Aston Martin, and Adrian has always tended to do his own thing. So obviously it was a big moment for that team. They chose to celebrate it perhaps a little too early before he finished his contract with Red Bull Racing, but obviously it was a big moment for the team. Red Bull has nobody else to blame but themselves, because whether we like Joswist and him speaking out against the team, he did predict that a lot of people would leave the team after. Horner got a lot more power before the investigation was started. After Newey, 2 important people like Courtenay and Wheatley have left the team, and it shows that the situation in the team, at least from inside, might have gotten worse than what the team could have expected. So a 2-month delay in Newey's services to Aston Martin by blocking the tools to work at Red Bull can be seen as both desperate and smart at the same time, because the team understands that they are under a lot of pressure to prove that they can rise up and continue with their winning at least in the Drivers' Championship. The Silverstone-based team has invested a lot, not just in people but in their buildings too, renovating everything that can be renovated and making cutting-edge construction that would be the foundation of their success in the upcoming future. All of this has been supported by Lawrence Stroll, who in his bigger picture has a driver like Verstappen joining the team, mainly guided by Honda and Newey's influence. The fact that Alonso admitted he won't be in the sport long enough to see Adrian's input into the car shows that the team means business from day one. When talking about how long he will stay in the sport and what's coming next for his team, Alonso said they have quite a few good things coming up in the next few months in the team. Step by step they all have to get that first race win and hopefully fight for championships in the future. He's aware that this takes time and he doesn't to have that time in a way, but he is relaxed and enjoying the journey. And here we go back to what is currently waiting for us. Newey will start his work on March 2nd, and to say that he'll have an influence on the 2025 version of the car is kind of unrealistic because it's more or less finished. But for the 2026 season when the new regulations start, the genius would need to deal with everything new in Aston Martin, both people and non-people related. And the feedback that he would get from his drivers would matter a lot. This might be a reason why he would push for a driver of Verstappen's level to be brought to the team sooner rather than later. But make no mistake, just because 2026 is the future for Aston Martin, it doesn't mean that they're not going to use all of their current people in trying to figure out what they can work on to improve in the 2025 version of their car, and of course win a race with it if possible. This is something that's been called the goal for the upcoming season, and when talking about it, Alonso stated the obvious: he needs to get his 33rd win before he retires, whether that would be under Newey's leadership or not. With all of this in mind, do you think that Red Bull has outplayed Aston Martin by blocking the tools for Newey? Or do you think that this is just a part of normal procedure that is legally allowed to slow down how fast your valuable people can join your rivals, which is exactly what Red Bull is doing? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're interested in Tsunoda's huge revenge on Red Bull, make sure to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now.